I'm here with Paul from Maltby's store. Firstly, congratulations on your award.
Thank you very much.
Can you begin by telling us a bit about your store?
Yeah, we're a family business, started in 1904. It started off as a corn factors in the day and age where the business has always been on the same road in Hull. It was a very highly populated area, so it started off as a corn factors, supplying people in them days who had backyard chickens, people bred rabbits for meat. There's still a lot of horses in Hull, pulling goods and whatever. There's an awful lot of horses, so we was basically supplying that as a corn factor. We moved on to that starting the 30s, really, where dogs and cats and pets become a lot more part of the family, not just a working thing and not just fed off the table, whereas they used to be. They actually started to be dog and cat food, and we went to the pet and garden, the pet trade, and that was decent. We had an amazingly unusual war period. We got bombed out in 1941, but we had a very good war period because people was more with rationing into like chickens and stuff like that. So it was a bit of a double-edged sword. The war, we had quite, we did sell quite a lot of stuff when we got around the rationing of it. It was a very highly populated area that we're in. It was back-to-back houses, pretty much what would now be called slum dwellings, but it was a really nice, close-knit community where everybody looked after each other. But starting from the late 50s and all the way through the 60s, an awful lot of these houses was knocked down, maybe rightly so. They weren't inhabitable. And a lot of these people who at this point was our friends, in a way, was moved out into large council estates around the city of Hull. And they got gardens for the first time in their life. They got gardens, and my granddad and my dad saw that as an opportunity to make our store not just a pet store, but a pet and a garden store. So for a period from the late 50s right up to the 90s, it was maybe more a garden store than a pet store. So that was good. I would keep redefining, changing our business. The last big recession, which I think was 2008, the business was suffering. It wasn't going to go bankrupt, but it was suffering. And we had 4 staff at the time. And it got to the point where we may have had to make one of them redundant. And he was a friend. He was a proper friend. And I'd headhunted him from another company, kind of headhunted him from another company. And I would have felt the worst person ever to make him redundant. I was actually looking for a job myself to leave him in that job. And the internet was just starting at this point, 2008. I mean, the internet obviously is a lot older than 2008. Selling on the internet was just starting to pick up in 2008. And we had a bit of not even a gamble, it was just, if we could just take £1,000 a week, £1,000 a week, we could pay John's wages, it'll give us something to do when the shop's quiet, packing a few orders up, just taking them to post office, get rid of a bit of excess stock, blah, de blah. And 2008 now has just been phenomenal. We've increased every single year, at least 10% every year since 2008, which is decent for a business. We've gone from 4 staff to 35 staff. We've created jobs for our 5 genetic family members and their partners. So we've got 12 family members working for us. And it's just going from strength to strength, and we do think that it might even, it's still on a growth, and we've still got other opportunities that we can push. We've got, for the first, we're really, really confident about the future at the moment, which is maybe the first time I've felt like that in the 40 years that I've been in the business, that I do think that we're going to be strong for the next few years.
That's great news. So what do you think was the big catalyst for this growth and this new success?
The internet's obviously the big one. The internet's amazing because it's not about how big or small or medium your business is. It's about giving a good product. Unfortunately, the lower you are, not unfortunately, people do search for the lowest price. If you can source your goods correctly, which we now go to source for just about everything we buy from source. So if you get it, good service, a low enough price, you can compete with anybody on the internet, absolutely anybody. So the internet was obviously the big catalyst, was going on the internet, and that's the core of it all. Then the second catalyst was, as a pet suppliers business, we was deemed as being essential during COVID, and that speeded things up. I think we was on a trajectory where it was maybe increasing 10% a year, which obviously is good over a few years. And I basically think COVID as an essential business took us forward 5 or 6 years in 1 year. We was obviously at the start of COVID worried about what we was going to do with staff, because we had to shut the bricks and mortar store down, which is still a small but significant enough part of the business. We had to shut that down immediately. We had a dog spa that again had to be shut down immediately. So I was very worried that we was overstaffed going into COVID. And it actually ended up at the end of that, the 2 lockdown periods, where we'd added 5 extra members of staff, about 20% extra staff in that period, which was not what I expected, and it was absolutely amazing. So I think that really speeded it all up. And we also got a demographic. I think there's basically 3 generations who are buying the internet. There's the people of the younger generation, like the under 30s, under 35s, who they'll go there they'll go to the internet before they go to bricks and mortar a lot of the time. There's my generation who would use the internet for something special, something we couldn't find, something that, or we might even look on the internet to see if it's cheaper on the internet. That's my generation. And there was the older generation who, in my opinion, didn't really trust the internet. They had never been taught at school. It was, they hear all the bad stories about online banking, ripping you off, all that. They weren't trustworthy, the internet, the 55 years and plus generation. And what I think happened was, what did happen, there was actually, for all the right reasons, the ones who was locked down the most. So they was actually forced to go on the internet in a way. And that definitely pushed the business way forward. And as I said, putting these 5 members of staff on during COVID worried me to death, that when things went back to normal, the business could take a hit, and we would have felt guilty getting rid of staff who'd stepped up during COVID, come out when it, because in effect they was only working for 20% wages, or not much more if they was furloughed in another job. So it's like, please don't get rid of them when they've stepped up for us. And it's actually not just kept at the level of COVID, it's actually still increasing. And that has shocked me, that I thought we might have had a bit of a dip the last couple of years, and it's quite the opposite. It's actually growing at the highest rate that we've ever had it growing. So that's quite amazingly good, really.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And how do you decide what products you stock?
Well, what's nice, coming from the corn factor business, we've tried to keep with our core what we've been for the last 100 years, which is selling corn. Obviously, in 20 or 30 years ago, that was rabbits, chickens, pigeons was a big thing for a while, horses. And that kind of, from the same suppliers, the same core business, the same products in a way, went into wild bird food. So people they like to feed the wild birds. Maybe people had a little bit more disposable income, so they could afford to feed the wild birds. And that was what we'd got into as a bricks and mortar shop, and we was doing that. So we've took the wild birds into our business, and that's been amazingly good. We're all dog lovers. Every member of the family has a dog. We all love dogs. And we wanted not just to be selling dog food, we want to be selling decent dog food. So we've got into 2 things. We've got an amazing relationship with a company called Royal Canin, who symbiotic relationship where we both get on really well with each other, and they look after us, and we try to do what they want the other way around. So we decided to sell just Royal Canin dog and cat food, which we trust as a brand for our own animals, so we trust to sell it. And I saw a few years ago that as we're getting more into wanting to eat healthy ourselves, which was a good thing, people was actually then thinking they actually wanted the dogs predominantly, the cats to a lesser extent, they wanted them to eat healthy as well. And I was never a big fan of processed dog treats, because you basically got a colourblind animal that was putting colourings, additives, stuff like that, to make it look nice for us. And I thought there must be enough people out there like myself who thought that was wrong. So I went, about 5 years ago, I went to just selling. We chucked out all the stuff that had additives in, colourings in, all preservatives. And we went into natural pet treats, which is just basically anything you can get off an animal and freeze dry it, not freeze dry, but dry it. Air dry it, that's the word I was looking for, sorry. Anything you can air dry off an animal and sell as a treat, and it's two things with that. The dogs love it, and it is healthy for the dogs, and that appeals to the owners as well, because they want the dogs to be healthy if they want themselves to be healthy, because they are, as we all know, being dog lovers, they are one of the family. So that's the main things that we're into at the moment.
And the products that you sell online, are they the same products that you generally sell in the shop?
No, that's the biggest shock I had when I went online in 2008. The things that sold well in the shop, I just thought that or the things that sold slow in the shop, I just thought that same ratio would go all the way through to the internet. And it's absolutely the polar opposite. The things that sold well in the shop, when you take the step back, is the bog standard things that they can buy from supermarkets, garden centres, the B&Qs of this world. So I thought that the hair selling rates in the bricks and mortar shop with the hair selling lines online, but online it's the polar opposite. It's the more specialist stuff that they found hard to get. People who were like passionate about how wild bird feed, customers who were passionate might want to use a specific seed or specific to get specific birds to come to the garden. So it's been the absolute opposite. It's really specialist stuff that sells well online, and that's been a real learning curve. It took me maybe 3 or 4 years to get my head around that it wasn't just putting the bog standard stuff, it was putting the specialist stuff up, and we've done that to the nth degree, to the point now where if somebody offers us something that we haven't heard of, that excites us, and that's what we want to sell, because we believe that'll be the next line going forwards. So yeah, that's where we're up to really with that.
Fantastic. And are there any exciting plans for the future?
Yeah, big time. I had looked at doing pan-European 3-4 years ago, and it was so complicated for postage, and it was especially complicated for taxation, especially the VAT. You've got to be registered for VAT in every single country you decide to send to. I obviously thought the first 27 countries would go to with the other members of the EU, because that just kind of made sense. And it was so complicated, especially the VAT, but other things as well, because we're selling food, port health. Well, port health in the UK gets involved. Obviously, all the other countries have their version of port health. It was, in my opinion, not the expense of setting it up wasn't worth what would have made out of it. But we've got a really nice relationship with Amazon. We're very, very proud on there. One of Amazon's criteria, which is the amount of feedback of 3 stars or plus that a company's got last month. We're the 14th biggest on Amazon GB and Ireland at the moment for that, which is just amazing, because I still sometimes see myself as being this little pet shop on this road in Hull, and we're obviously not that anymore. We're bigger than that now. And with this relationship with Amazon and being bigger on Amazon, we've now eventually got our own account manager who we can talk to and stuff like that. I was a good word with him today. And pan-European we can do with British taxation rates, because it'll actually be sent out from Amazon warehouses with a program they're called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon. So rather than us selling it to the customer in Germany or Poland or France, the products will be sent to Amazon. It will send it to Germany or Poland or France, and the taxation it's a way around the taxation, because it's technically going out from Britain. So that's a really, really big opportunity for us, and really excited about that. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Excellent. And is there anything else you would like to add?
No, just that we've got, if I was giving anybody any advice in business, because I've got friends in business, I would say don't get fixated on expenses, especially staff expenses. I've got friends in business who think that, because it's mine and my sister's business, it's a 50-50 business. I've got friends who are like, you're an idiot paying people over minimum pay. There's so many, unfortunately, we are in a bit, fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for the business, unfortunately for our city, we're in a bit of an unemployment black spot. And so my friends, I just can't believe you pay over minimum pay. But we actually pay over a thing called the living wage. I think it was set up by the TUC in the first place, and we actually pay slightly over that. And I think that if I was giving anybody advice in business, it would be look after your staff, because we've eventually ended up with the most amazingly good team of staff. And that's because we've had time to train them up properly, send them on the right courses properly, send them on all, and they're not looking for that next. I think when you pay people minimum pay, people think that the grass is always greener, so they'll move to another minimum pay job. And I think that it's a nice thing to do for the staff, because they deserve more money than that. I wouldn't want to be paid minimum pay, I really wouldn't. And it's also a good thing for the business, because it creates that loyalty and it allows us to train them up properly and get them to our way of thinking. And I think that's been a real good thing for the business, good for them and good for the business as well.
Fantastic news. Congratulations again on your award, Paul.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Cheers,
Thank you very much. Thank you.